Mr. Thinker, do you have a minute?
Are you coming to join me in my swim? I know there is a river somewhere around here. The water sure is fantastic this time of year.
I feel like you have lied to me.
Do you? But I never lie. What falsity could I possibly have said?
You told me that enlightenment could not be explained, but someone just gave me a perfectly complete explanation of enlightenment.
Did this someone happen to be a genie?
Yes. How did you know?
Oh my. That explains you being all caught up with these questions recently. Why didn't you tell me you were talking to Charles?
Charles?
Yes, Charles is his name. Genies do have names, you know.
I know the genie had a name. I just didn't know that he was a he.
Well, gender roles are rather different for genies, but that's beside the point. Charles is the only genie in town. I play poker with him on Thursdays. I swipe him clean of cash every week.
Can't he just wish for good poker hands?
Oh no, a genie can't grant his own wishes. That's just silliness.
Has he explained his understanding of enlightenment to you?
Oh yes, several times. That's quite an elaborate loop he's thrown himself into.
A loop?
Of course. Everyone falls back into it once you realize what type of person they are.
What type of person is the genie?
Well, Charles was designed specifically by God to grant wishes. This is always his task at hand. Charles is a doer.
He mentioned the term to me.
I'm sure he did. The world for Charles is an object for manipulation and explanation. The world is out there for him to go and get.
What is the implication of that?
Well, in essence, Charles has created a little model of reality and is analyzing it, completely outside of it. That's why his explanations are so comprehensive. But he can never get out of this type of model way of thinking insofar as he is a doer. Do you remember how I said earlier that enlightenment is both the bottom and the top?
Yes, I remember quite well.
Well, Charles didn't tell you, but the statement holds for his system as well. Though you can say that enlightenment is the highest level of relation, it is also the lowest. It is before anything is split into categories at all. Before neurons or particles or any of these things, there is just brute existence, brute nature. There are no categories in it, it just is.
Why doesn't Charles include it in his system?
Because he can't. It includes him. You can't put it in a system because it will always consume the maker of the system who has to be outside of the system. If one were to try to make a complete system of reality, it can't be complete because reality always overflows from that system into the maker.
What does this have to do with Charles being a doer?
Well, because of this problem, Charles must be working with the model of reality and not of reality itself. Accordingly, there is always going to be a space between he and it, and he is always going to actively do things with the world. But insofar as he is doing this, his model of reality won't really be of reality.
What about a non-doer? A beer?
Well, a beer is in reality not working with a model of it. He is at both the bottom and the top of Charles's silly system, so there is nothing for him to do or manipulate. He doesn't come up with a picture of reality in which he can place himself. He's just there with the world, in reality, but not on a specific level of relation where it is modeled.
Which one are you?
Well, now that we are talking about this, I have created a model of reality with which I can answer questions like that. I can refer to me in my model and say that right now, I am a doer. That question would make no sense to a beer because there's no distinctions or dichotomies in the world, certainly not one between doers and beers. But if we were to splash in the water a bit rather than talk about all this silly stuff, I would most likely go back to just being in the world. Or I might get caught in my frantic pacing again. I hope not, but I can never be sure.
So whether Charles's system is actually right is not a question we can ever answer?
Well, yes. And the same goes for this one, which includes Charles's system in it. And for one that somebody makes, that includes this one as well. You know how I told you that I used to be enlightened? I used to be actually enlightened long term, not just in a circle of enlightenment and non-enlightenment. I lived with Zen monks and everything. But then I started to wonder. The Western world seems so confident in their worldview. How could these two views ever coexist? What I came up with was the system I just described.
What happened when you told your fellow monks about this idea?
This did